privileges here. So we have already seen something called access privileges, which is site permissions, right? So now the site permissions you can also give it from SharePoint Designer, and whatever you can do in your site here, right? So let us say you don't have uh, SharePoint access now. Let us say, so why basically we use this SharePoint Designer is, let us say your SharePoint site is down now, right? It is under maintenance, or something is going on to make that up, right? So till that time, if you don't want to waste your time, right, you can actually use your designer, create everything you want, right? So once your site is done, then link up your site and save. So each and every information will be saved up your into your site, right? So even that can be done using your designer, right? Like as of now we are connected, right? So if you are not connected, right, then you can just work offline. So once your work is done, once your SharePoint server is up, right, then connect up and just save your work so that it will be deployed into your automatically deployed into your SharePoint server, right? Even that can be done. So that's how we actually create all these things without touching your SharePoint, which we can also do it in our SharePoint Designer. Now let us see the different privileges what we can actually give, how we can actually give site permissions using designer, right, which is again very important, right? So I have opened this site actually, which is info IT calls one. Let me just is that info IT? Yeah, it's info IT call SharePoint designer which I have, right? So let's go back here. So whatever you can see here in site permissions, right? So we have something called inside permissions, we have members, owners and all, right? So you can see all of them in here, which is site groups, right? Or even in summary page you can also see here this summary page here is this thumbnail is nothing but your permissions actually, right? So you can see each and every part. If you click on that, right, you can see what are the permission levels you have, right? So I clicked on something called members, so you can only contribute, right? Click on visitors, right, you can read, right? In the same way you can also have owners where it have got full control. Now if you change something from here, right, let us say a member is there, right? Okay, people, let me go to share permissions again. The members are there. Let us say I want to edit permissions, right? So when I select on edit permissions, it will again show me something which is here. So now let us say I want to give him access to design. Click on OK, right? So now get back here, refresh your site, right? Refresh your site, right, and click on members, right? You can see it is enabled here. It disabled here. Click on OK, save it up, and refreshes. So automatically it will go and hit your. So it's completely it is completely tightly coupled actually here. So once you do from there or here, doesn't matter, the site permissions will be in sync with your SharePoint server, right? Click on this edit permissions, you can see the designer is not here, right? So now let us check out how we can actually give the users, different users here and out, right? Now let me just take one user. So let me just so I'm using my Chrome and my IE here, right, where I can actually show you the difference, right? So let me just sign in with a different user, which is guest one, let us say, and guest one. So here initially there is no access for him, right? Now let us try to provide access to this guy using designer. Now here in this designer, whatever you want to do, right, do it once you are done with refresh or saving, so that all your components will be the latest one before actually you're moving on to something, right? So in this summary page, everything, so whatever important things are there will be provided, right? Like it has got site information, like what is the storage used, how much is your complete site storage, or what is the link, right, and what is the title and everything. Here you have customization, you can edit something, change the site theme, you can have all the subsites and permissions now, right? So now let's go back to, so these permissions, if you don't get this permission, right, you can also collapse all, right? You can just collapse all to see only this complete thing, right? Or whatever you want, you can just expand them. Now from your left tree you can also see something called site groups. So this site groups is nothing but your access groups here, right. So first what we'll see is we'll see user level permission first, and then we'll go for group level, right. So here it is the same thing what we have done, but here it will be something like you will be working in a style of SharePoint designer way, not like here we have something called add and all, right. Let us see how to add them all. Now let us say I want to add a member to my site visitor. Let us say, let me click on that. So if I click on that site visitor, right, you can see site called visitors. So here you can see here something called add user to this group. So let's click on that. You can see again there is a window being shown up again. So this window will give you again a directory of all your people. Let me click on this book. You can see, let me just click on guest 1 and enter, right. So it will take that, it will take the whole directory and it will give you whatever was there, right. Click on that and just say add and OK, right. It will take you to here, right, and just say OK. Now you can see in this members list, right, you have got one guy who is guest 1 under info IT call, which is under info IT collection site. Refresh this and go back here and just say go back to site. Yeah, guest 1 got access to that. So similarly, if you don't want him, right click over here, you can actually click on that, right, select this, you can remove user from group, or you can directly say right click and remove user from group, just say OK. So immediately it will be saved. I don't want to refresh anything, just go and click on something, it will show, right. So whatever you are doing in SharePoint design is directly hitting your SharePoint database itself, right. Now, so we have seen adding your member from here, right. You can also add user from directly from your thumbnail, which is click on this add users. You can see here, let me just say guest 1 again, right, and OK, right, it got added. Just say go back to site, right, and you got a site, right. So now, so he is a visitor, he is just a visitor, right. Let me go to info IT call and go to designer site, right. So just click on here, you can see only he is a visitor, so you can see only the view part. And even if you select something, right, if you go to list, you can see each and everything will be disabled, nothing will be there, right. Only he can view whatever he want, that's it, he won't be able to do that. So where we have given something called info IT visitors, right. Now so from the same from SharePoint designer, let me just remove this group. OK, let's go back here, right. Let me just change the status, let me see, he won't be able to do anything. Let me just close and go back to page 2. We'll get again access denied, because intermediately, like if you want to actually deny some guy's permissions immediately, right, it can also be done from your design, right, just as I have shown you that. Now let me just go back to members here. You can see info IT members, right. Now this summary window is info IT members, you can see the name over here also. If you select owners, info IT owners, right, the summary window will be for the one which you have selected. Let me just select info members and add users, right. Let me add guest 1 now, right, and click on OK. You have your guest. You can go back to site. Yeah, you can see it now. And if you just click on this, you can see you have got something called view and edit items, right. The same permissions which we have seen before, right. And now this guest 1, just right click on that and again say remove. Let us say now you can also add the same user to your owner directly, where you can also what you are making is you are making this one user a complete owner of your site again, right. So that's how we can give different users access to this. Now again, if you have separate site, right, if you have separate site, which means, so now what here we have done is, so we have seen something which is a site which is under info IT collection, where we have gone to some let us say sample site or some site, right, where each and every site is actually inheriting the permissions of info IT call. You can see here info IT call, so each and every site is inheriting. Like if you go to the guest 1, he is able to see Okay, we have removed the permissions. Let me give the permissions as a member. Add users and guest one. Click on OK. Just go back and say yes, he can, right? But see here, he is able to access each and every site. Why? Because each and every site is actually inheriting the properties of your parent. Now let us create a site from here, right? And let's give the exclusive permissions and let us see what happens, right? Just say edit SharePoint designer here, click on this. I'm sorry, not this. Create a new site. uh, so what happened here? New site.
Srinath,
Yeah, yeah.
you keep breaking off. I can't like hear you every now and then. It goes silent.
Is it fine now?
Yeah,
Okay,
well,
let
while
me.
while you're working, it breaks
Okay,
off
let
at
me just
times.
mute and unmute now. I hope now it will be fine, right?
Hmm.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, let's go to site here. Okay, let me just create a maybe some social media workspace, some site here. Let me just say social site, right? And click on this and more options. So in more options, you have to give something called unique permissions, right? If you don't want to inherit some from your parent, just say unique permissions, right? And go down. So I want all the quick launches and top link parents and all. Click on create, right? So Trupti, is it fine now? So I hope it is not breaking, right? Fine. Yeah, cool. So it is processing now. Now we got it entered into your site now. Let me just say create new group. So in this new group you can see social site visitors and all, right? Let me just say members, no one is members and only one guy is owner, which is admin. Click on OK. Now the site is ready, which is your social site, right? Social site which will actually give you something like some web parts which are used for some networking, right? Now let's go back to guest one here. You can see guest one here, right? So I'm logged in with admin. So I have just created my site, right, using my uh, using a unique permissions, right? Let's go back to guest one and refresh this. You can see it is not being populated. Why? Because this is something social site which is exclusive to that. Now let's go back to social site. Click on social site, and this social site itself will have separate designer again. Let me just open that, right? When you click on that, you can see it is opening a separate designer for social site, which is again under your template, info IT. Now if you click on groups, right, you can see only those things will be activated. Now if you go to the home of social site, here the permissions, whatever you can see here, are the main guys, right? Actually if you go to site groups, each and everything will be visible, but only thing is it won't be connected. You can see here, this group is used only for info IT collection, and it is separate for your social site. And if you go to the home, which is social site, you can see only these things, right? So that's it. Now let us say in this designer, which is my info IT, let me just make it this way. The small one which I have which I am moving here is nothing but your info IT designer. Let me just remove this user from group. Yes, okay. And let me give it as a member in here, right? Member in here. Click on the site groups, click on social site members, and click on add user. Just say so. Once you remove that, you can see here, when I want to go to something, it won't allow me, right? And now let's go back to guest one and give permission, right? Now guest one have got permission. Now if you go and say back to site, right, again it will say access denied. Why? Because the URL you are using is designer site, right, which is not allowed. Only this guy is allowed to only one site, so which is nothing but your social site. So let me just select this URL, right click, copy, go back to Chrome and right click, paste, right, enter. Now you can see guest one will be able to see only one. Now blog site is something which is, again it will give you, because this is exclusive to all your sites, because it is exclusive again, but when it tries to access it won't be able to, right, because blog IT site is something which is not directly created under info IT, right, so that's why it is been visible. But if you click on that, again it will directly go to your info IT and it will check whether it is there or not. So as it is not there, it won't, right. So this is how we actually also can give permissions exclusive to your sites, right. So in that way you can give using your SharePoint designer, and make sure whenever you are giving, so here your URL will say which site you are working on. If you are working on a root site, which means you are working on something here, home here, which is info IT call, right. Or in the same way, if you are working on a exclusive other site which is out of your which is inner to sub site, right, you will be using this, right. In the same way you can give any number of users. I can give guest 2 here, right, just say okay, and this guy will be able to work on your social site only, right. Let us see, go and say sign as different users, guest 2 and guest 2, right. Yeah, he came now. So this is a guest 2 again. Now he won't be able to access other things. So if he is able to access other things, which means he has got some permissions in here, right. Yeah. Okay, so why is he able to access that? Let me just go back to administrator here, sorry, social site here. Let me just go back to corp IT call, info IT, info, oops, info, home, right. Go to permissions here and check permissions. Just say guest 2 here and check now. Yeah, there is no permission in here. And let's go back to info IT collection and go back to your social site. So in the social site, when you check site permissions, check permissions, guest 2 will have only one access, which is contributor, right. So it is only one, but why it is able to access other pages here? Oh, okay. Guest 2 is accessing to the main page. Okay, go back to site, okay, he is not able to go back to site. But when I click on social site, go to social site, click on this URL, copy, go back, paste, go, he is able to do, right. Okay, so that is how we actually give permission to the exclusive site, which will allow that user to access that particular site, right. Now let us see how to create a group here again. Let me go back to info IT call, which is home again, right. Now here the group is nothing but, so we already have something called groups here. These are default groups which are being created in your SharePoint for each and every site. When you create, this will be your group permissions. Now the same group permissions will be displayed here. Now if you want to, okay, this is okay, anyway, so it will show all the maximum possible groups here, because even social site is nothing but a child of your info IT site, right. Now let's go back here and just create one more group here. So in order to create a group, again you have something called new group here, which is here next to your add user group. Click on that. Yeah, you can give them, let us say I want to add some managers group, right, and you want to give so say he can access and change items, let us say, right. and owner, let us say owner I'm giving as admin again, right, so that you can actually handle that, and click on OK. Now, so this is my manager which I have created, so by default it's an admin, right. So now let's go back to each and every site and remove whoever are there, social site members. Okay, let me just remove, right click and remove user group. Okay, right, social site and admin. Okay, fine. Okay, so no one is here. Now let's go back to this and just click on anything, right. You should not be able to access anything. Okay, block. Okay, it's a exclusive page again. So exclusive page anyways he can be able, right. Now he is not able to access anything. Now let's go back to managers here, right. In under manager I will add a user called guest 2 and click on OK, right. So now your guest 2 is a managers group again. So let's go back, it's a guest 2 one and click on back to site, right. Click back to site. Okay, fine. So why it is not showing is this manager didn't have any, if you remember this manager we didn't give any permission, right. So after adding your group, right, you have to mention your permissions, if you remember, right. Let us say view group permissions here, or you can also view permissions in here, or what you can do is go to groups, right, select this and just right click, edit group, right. Here you can see here an option called site permissions, right. Click click to assign permission for this group, click on this, it will open here, right. Now if you give anything here, even from here it will access. Let us say I don't want to give any access from here. Let's go back to site here and just go back to permissions. You can see that it is not been added here. Info IT call, refresh my site, go back, site permissions, right, click on that. Okay, it will be added on more. It says click on more. Yeah, on more it is there, which is managers here. Click on managers. Yeah, so now you can see that the users are added in under your managers, right, which are admin and guest 2, right. Because before groups, right, it will show you the default ones, but anyways if you click on more, actually it will also show more things, but as you have many items here, maybe that is why it is not showing everything, right. Let me just go back to site settings, people and groups, right. So here again you can see the same users. Anyways, if I click on more, yeah, then I will be getting this, not an issue. Let's go back here. Let us assign this permission to this group. Let us say he can contribute and design maybe, right, and click on OK. Now, so now it is directly affected, which is design and contribute, you can see. So go to any other, you can see the permissions here, right. Go to social members, you can see the permission here, right. Anyways, if there are no permissions, you can also apply that. Let's go back to your Chrome and just click on backside. Yeah, now you will be able to access, and he is a he's a manager now. He's a manager with the permissions that he can be he'll be able to do something called design and contribute, right. So that is what it is. Fine. Now so we have seen a group here, and for the same group you can create any number of groups, right, and you can assign any number of users from either from your thumbnail, which is here, or from add user group. Let me just add guest 1. And go back, let's say assign as different users, guest 1 and guest 1, right. So it will be added up. So yeah, you can see each and everything what pertaining to something called design and contribute only. You won't see other things like adding anything, right. Editing, you can contribute or design to this site, right, and you cannot go to this site, which because this site is not, again this site is a exclusive site as compared to your normal site again, but you can move on to any other site. Go back, Okay, he got permission only for one. It's weird again. My block said. Okay, go back to site. Guest one is access denied. Okay, he'll get the permission only to the site whatsoever he is giving here, right? But let's go back here and add a new group from here. Let's go back to site settings for peoples and group, and let me click on this and just say leads grant permissions. Okay, new, click on this and just say users to groups, more, new group, right? So let us add a group from here, lead, and just say group owner is this, who can view group members and all, request to join or leave. Yeah, let me just give you design, contribute, right, and create. So here we have provided a leads here, right? So it got affected directly here, right? Directly here, and just say new. Now let me add one guest one here. Okay, add a guest one. Let's get back to site. Here he can no. Oh sorry, I just gave the block one. I can go to the side. Okay, fine. So again you can see these sites, whatever you are designing, right, you have to give each and every site a exclusive permission again, right? So that's why it's, yeah, you'll be able to do that. And can I access share documents here? Yeah, I can access site pages here. I can access some lists here. Yeah, he can access each and every thing whatever is under your info IT collection site, right? So that is what it is like. Under site groups you have seen something called users and user groups. Like you can also correlate between different user groups, right? And if you want to check here which user is there, right, again you have to go back to your site again. So here if you want to see, right, you can just click on this view group permissions, right? It will take you to the site again, right, which is again the same thing, right? So here again go back to site permissions and see which user have got what permission, right? So this window will be used mostly actually, which is check permissions, right? This window will be used mostly because whenever you are getting any request for adding a user for giving permission, right, you will be using that mostly, right? So that's how we give permissions to sites here. Now so we have again something called all files here. So all files again will give you each and everything in your site. So it will give you all your lists, right, whatever list we have added or whatever list are there already, right? If you can see, it will give you all the forms we have, whatever your sites we have added, document site, sample site. So inside designer site you can see, yeah, so when I click on it will again open the separate designer. So let me just go to all files. It will show you the lists and documents which is pertaining to your designer site. We have got two inner sites again, which is inner, again it will open separate designer, right? You can see here. So we were in info IT, it opened designer, and inside this design we have inner. If you go to inner again, it will show you particular pages and your list again. If I click on list, you can see, so which we have which is defaultly created on, right? So that is nothing but your all files. Whenever you want, you can add to this all. And anyways, to all the files, right, you can also add something called different web parts here, right? So what is the look and feel you want to get web part, right? So this is nothing but way to add, if you remember. So way to add in the sense, when you actually change this up, right, when you actually edit this page, it will give you the location where to add, right? It will give you a location like where I can add your web part, whether here or anywhere, right? If you see your blank site, in the same way you can use that, right? Now, yeah, data sources. Next one is data sources. Now this data source is actually something, you know, which is used to link data in between your database or any web service or any XML file or any normal file or anything with your one of the lists, right? So where we're actually connecting to any database actually, but anyways this database things, right? Okay, well, let us take one example here. Now you can see database connection here, right? Which means if you select any of your list, right, any of your list or library, right, so what happens there is if I'm selecting some links or tasks or anything, so when you click on database, right, it will actually try to create a new list using those connections. So this is nothing but, let us say you have a separate database which is Oracle database or SQL database, right? So from there you can actually map your data to that. Let me just configure this database once. Let us see whether it works with me. It says SQL server. Let me just give this as let me just open my instance, because this will allow server which is running on the same framework actually, because anyways this will not be there in each and every server, right? Because this will be there in when you get a server, right, you'll be getting these things, right, and it will be added up actually. So all those servers will have by default, if you want it, so the databases where your data will be there and you can actually access from your designer by connecting to that, right? Let me just check on this and let me try this whether it will work or not. Use settings, application name and all. Okay, let me just say save this username and password to data connection. So let me just select this is my database name, which is server name here. Okay, cancel, just go server name. You can also give the complete name, which is Srinath, and okay, and username, I don't have any username here. Wait a second, if you guys have any right now, just go next. Okay, option says okay, so let it be. So I see here itself it is not accessing my thing. Let me just remove these things and just say next. Okay, again it says okay, so here connection string, can I give any connection string here? Connection string can be let us say database is equal to your MySQL, right? Semicolon, user authentication mode. So I'm just trying to fetch something, but actually anyways it won't allow, because the provider server should be running on the same framework actually. But anyways my framework is SQL server is running on higher bit version. I don't know whether I can make it up or not. Windows authentication, right, and just say okay. Maybe it may not accept this, and click on next. Okay, again it is asking for SSO. So okay, so why is it asking for SSO? Okay, fine. Here's settings, application name, application field. Okay, single sign, we don't have single sign-ons here. Okay, okay, it seems I cannot. Can I connect to OLEDB instead with my save username and password? Yes, Sony. Let me skip that. Okay, it won't take anything. Right, not a problem, because This won't take because I know that it is in a some other bit version of my database. My database is actually which is something else, right? Obviously it won't accept this, but let me just try with OLDB and let me give you if it is possible tomorrow, right? I'll try this because I know that it won't be possible because I'm not working on something or server. So this will give you in a real time basis, right, when you actually get the details. So you'll be getting all this configuration details from your DB guys, because they are the one who's actually maintaining this. So that is your database connection thing. And what is this soap or soap service or REST service or something which is related to something called web service. Now when you click on this, you can see that it needs some WSDL, right, web service data link, which is you can actually create web services using Java or .NET or any language. Let us say web service is there, right, which is actually giving you a method, right, which is like get courses, right. So where you have to give your web service URL here, right, and select what is the command. You can select something called get it will give you the whole list of methods. You can select one of them, and if it is asking for parameters, right, like this box is to actually give some parameter. Let us say you are asking for some codes, or you may ask for some batch, right. You can give the parameters and set OK. So when you set OK, it will actually create a list, right, for you, where each and every time you have a database change, it will be reflected automatically, right. So that will be done. So then you have something called REST service. REST service is, so web service is something which will actually give you SOAP service. I mean, SOAP service is something, SOAP is nothing but simple object access protocol. So this SOAP protocol is nothing but is actually used in web communications, right, for in between your website and web services. So website and web services in between, the main protocol being used is either a HTTP protocol or a SOAP protocol and all, right. So for outside world you will never see SOAP protocol because using complete internal things, which is either a web or a web service based applications, right. So that is what is nothing but a SOAP service. And REST service is something which will be deployed in your server. Based on request only, it will give you the data. So that is nothing but a REST service. And you have called XML file. You can just connect it to XML file actually, right. Let me just create an XML file and see whether we can actually create give that. Okay. So here let us say I have one XML which is, let me just say root, right, and root, and just say items. Let me just click on items here, right. Just click on Apple. Okay, something. Let me just see whether it can be accessible, because all these things, whatever you can see, the data connections and all, right, it will be accessible only if everything is on the same framework, right. Let me just click on this and just say XML file dot XML, right. Now go back here to designer site and just browse up. It will take you to your site and go to the XML file. As a data source, you must import into your website. I would like to import file name. Okay, so this is the one. Click on OK here, and now you can see the XML file is here, right. The XML file is connected. So when I click on this, you can see it is being created under here actually, right. So now this is directly connected to your this XML now. So it got imported here. Let me just click on this and you can see Sharepoint. So let me just select this and just go to site here. So paste this URL. So it will take, XML file. Let me just click on save, and save, let me just say save as desktop XML file and just see this up, right? Your XML, now this XML file you're actually accessing is from your server now, right? So where your XML is ready now, and actually you can actually use this XML for different tasks. So that is how we actually created something called XML connection. Using this XML connection, we imported something called, you can see, create a connection to an XML and or import an XML to this, right? So that's how we actually get the data from XML. Now this XML can be used internally wherever you want. So where you can actually access this file and read the XML for different actions you want, right? If you want to get items, you can do that from this XML file, right? That is why we actually copy that, and let me click on properties. You can see each and every property of a list or task, whatever you have, right? Where is the data sources, right? Tasks. You can see each and every task, what are the different tasks you have, what are the different pages you have again, right? So that is how we actually work with data sources. So this data sources basically, so whenever we want to connect this, right, so DBA guys will write something called store procedures for you, which is again very important, which is nothing but stored procedures. So this store procedure is something which is actually a query or a database, a query or a direct SQL SQL statement being written at direct database itself. So if you want to access any query, right, you don't have to write a separate query of that. You can directly access your store procedure. So what people will do, they'll give you a direct store procedure, and they'll give you the database connection names and all. So what you can do is you can actually go and fill up all these connection names whatever they are providing, and once we do next, it will give you the option to write a query or store procedure or a function. You can select that and click next, and where it will actually create a connection for you, right? So that is how we actually connect to your database. And basically in real time, guys will be creating something called store procedures, because no one will write, or no one will actually entertain writing queries directly on pages, right? Obviously, if you write directly something on page directly, if you want to change something again, you have to change the whole of your page or library in your site, which is not actually recommended for these things, right? So that is nothing but your library things. And also you can actually do some tweaking with external content types. So this external content type is nothing but, if you are saving something pertaining to this site on your on something called in parallel shared servers, right? So I've already explained you what is shared server. Like when the load is heavy on your SharePoint server, so what people do is we actually take the separate server, right? Take the separate server things and keep the same instance of a SharePoint in some other server. So when load increases, so both the servers will come into picture and load will be shared upon those two servers, right? So that's how, that is nothing but your the server, which is a backup server. Again, we can say it as a backup server. And if you want to get any content, so that content can be for a list or something else which is being created in that site, right? You can get that from there. You can just say external content type, right, over here, and it will actually connect to, you can see here, right, it will connect to the desired site again. So for what exactly you want from the external site. Actually before this, when you actually have a separate parallel server side, and if it is actually configured to your SharePoint server, it will open some window where you have to actually select from which server you want to access those files, right? That will be there. As we don't have any parallel server, we can't create a parallel server here in a standalone situation, right? So that's why we cannot actually get the content types which are from other server, parallel mother servers or backup servers, right? So that is nothing but your external content types. Anyways, those things can also be imported directly, right? Where you can see here, so if I go to any shared documents or something, right, here you have an option called if you can see here, export is there. You can actually Yeah, data sheet view. Okay, fine, sorry. Standard view and data sheet view, right? If you have a direct, something details directly, right, you can actually directly edit your file here, right? Which is nothing but this is something which is your file type of this is something but an access file. Access file is something which is access is nothing but a database, which is a light database being provided by uh, Microsoft, right? So whenever you do something on library side, it will actually open up in something called access. So when you go to tasks, or which is a list here, right? When you go to list and if you open something called standard view, right? Again it will open in a same way where you can actually give each and everything again, but there will be restriction and anyways, right? So whenever you add something, you have to follow something called uh, the internal formula. If you are creating any formula for this, we have seen we have created some formula for tasks when we actually created an info path, right? So there you can do, right? Or directly if you go to something called tasks, right, you can directly open up this task in info path. We have seen this info path from here, from something called lists and libraries, right? If you select some of your where is the list, announcements, or okay, sorry, we have deleted it seems the content types are all right, where we have seen something called we directly selected uh, the info path and we change. In the same way, you can also select the info path from here too, which is if you select your list, right, if you can go to list tools, list here, yeah, you have something called customized form. It will directly open up your customized form, and if you want to edit only this list, you also have something called edit list. So this will again open up your list, which is tasks in your SharePoint design, right? It will open up. Now you can see it is in the same task, so that's why it opened in the same designer for you, right? So that is how we actually do things with your SharePoint design, right? But basically SharePoint designer mostly in real time will be used for first thing is for maintaining your inner site, where you can actually see the complete information at once. What are the permissions, what are the information, what are the different things. If you want to edit something, very important thing, you use the SharePoint designer. First thing is to edit your mother site or the complete child sites, or keeping a track of your what is called so-called master pages, right, and providing different links to them, providing different UIs to them, right? That is the first thing. And second thing is you can actually give create pages, create libraries, create lists from direct from your SharePoint design itself, right? And then you can actually work with subsites, create subsites and all. And if you want to tweak any database things, right, direct loading up your. So in our previous classes we have joined two things called two different lists, right, where courses was there and batches was there, right? So there what we are doing is we are actually linking up two different components or two different entities which is in the same site, right? So in the same way you can actually connect to something which is some other external thing, which is it can be an XML, it can be a database and all, but only restriction is those databases should be incompatible with your SharePoint framework being used, right? But anyways, when they are using in the real time servers, right, obviously they'll keep everything on the same platform, so that everything will be on track, right? So whenever any upgrade of SharePoint does, let us say now we are learning 2010, right, we have got 2013 SharePoint, right, which means the latest, and still it is not been certified. Anyways, it will be certified soon. So when it comes, right, so how it will be certified? By checking each and everything. If the company wherever you are working, if they want to move from 2010 to 2013, right, you have to check each and everything, right, which is you, in the sense you have to check whether normal functionalities are working on SharePoint, and the DBA guys will check whether the databases for this site, I mean support to database, are working fine or not. So if everything is fine, then they'll say yes, we can use this SharePoint, right? And again if to I mean the higher version of SharePoint is approved, right, even then there will be a old instance too, because of for a recovery purpose, they'll always keep the one old version of your SharePoint instance. and the team will be divided up so that both to keep both the sites in sync, right? So sometimes what they'll do is whenever they're creating any sites or something, right, they'll keep the database same, because we are talking about something called SharePoint, and SharePoint completely is a software, so it doesn't depend on which version of database we are using, but only thing is it depends on the minimum version. Let us say now we have installed something called SharePoint 2008 R2, right? So it also supports SharePoint 2005 also, but it doesn't mean that you can also use SharePoint, I mean sorry, SQL Server 2003, right? Again it will go back to 32-bit server, whereas the SharePoint is 64-bit server, and there will be a compatible issues, right? So those all things will be taken up actually when a migration is going on, and basically migration is not so easy, right? Whenever any corporate is migrating SharePoint from one version to other, right, they'll have a separate plan for that, separate project for that. Actually they'll spend some 2 to 3 months examining each and every component, because SharePoint, whatever information is there, if you lose some information, it will be very costly, right? So that's why they'll check each and everything. Then if everything goes fine, first what they'll do, they'll take a backup of the whole database instance of old SharePoint, and then they'll upgrade. So all these things will be in track actually. So that is how the minimum upgrades will be done, and during upgrade, if you are not able to access your access your SharePoint, then obviously you can use something called your this thing, right? And again you can see here, oh, I opened this one, sorry. You can see in each and every site you can also open something called administrative web page, and you can actually save whatever master pages and everything you have created, right? You can actually save the whole site as a template, right? And you can use them anytime you want, right? So that is what it is. And now if you want to delete a site from this, so how to do that? Again, it's a direct thing. Again, let us say I have these many sites, right? Let us say I want to delete I want to delete my blog IT, right? Just go to inner, okay, this is my site which is higher one, no, say no, and just go back again, go back to this, go close, and inner, so sites, subsites, there are two subsites, design sample. Let me just create one sample here. It will open up, and you can say delete site. Click on delete site. Yeah, do you want to delete everything? Yes. So what it does is it will remove each and everything pertaining to your site from your SharePoint. So now if you see here info IT call, now you don't have something called sample site, right? Now let me just delete this blog IT and see what happens. Go back to your SharePoint designer, close this. Now refresh this. Now you can see it will be gone, right? It is gone. The sample site is gone. Now let me just go to SharePoint here, blog IT here. Let me just open this in a SharePoint designer, because blog ID is something which you have created exclusively in our SharePoint designer, which is not under anything, right? But only thing is we have tagged. Now this is my blog site, right? Click on delete site, yes. So it got deleted from here. Now go back and say info IT call. You can see this, but when you click on this, right, it is not found. Why? Because this is top link bar which we have created, right? But when we have created, which means this we are linking manually, right? So that's why it says web page not found. Why? Because we have deleted it somewhere else, but it is not directly linked, right? So that is why it is being shown. So if you want to delete from here, again go to site settings, again go to the top link bar in look and feel. Here you have something on my blog ID. Click on this and just say delete, right? So it will be deleted from your top link bar, and even from your sites, which is a quick launch bar, right? So these are we actually delete something, and this delete will be like direct complete delete of your database. Now Let me just delete from one side from here. I'll show you what is mean by complete delete. Let me go to social site, go back to actions, site settings, right? Here you can see delete this site under site actions. Click on delete this site, and now it will ask you whether to delete each and everything, permission levels or everything you want to. This is what it is asking for your SharePoint designer whenever you delete something. Refresh it. You have designer and social site. So we are in social site now. Yes, I want to delete everything. Click on delete. Okay. So it will delete each and every instance deleted where your website has been deleted. Go back. Now you can see only two things, right? Go back to your designer, refresh this here, and your site will be gone, right? So this is how you actually can see and actually deploy everything on your sites. Now let us say your SharePoint is not connected right now. If you want to see the preview, let us say you have created this design site. If you want to see preview, you have direct preview here, preview in browser, and if you click on this, you can see different types of browsers: Mozilla Firefox or Windows Explorer 9 to 10, 64-bit, 32-bit, and other browsers too, right? So if you click on uh, Mozilla, and if I click on some 800 by 600, right, which means this site actually will be opened in your Mozilla. So this is something which is to see whether your browser is compatible with other whether your site is compatible, or whatever you are actually writing in here is compatible with others or not. So that is why we use, right? Let me give admin and admin, right? And it will show you this designer set. Yeah, you can see here. Now we have opened it, and now you can say yes, each and every component is working here, right? And you can just say yes, this is working fine, right? So again, you can actually go back to site again. Yeah, you can do whatever you want, because we are logged in with something called admin, right? And this is nothing but a preview, is nothing but a just to check a default. Now by default it will be 32-bit Windows Explorer 9, in 9 or 10 it will work, right? Because the basic version now anyways in 2013 SharePoint, right, you don't have some option which is beyond or below 2000, I mean Internet Explorer 8, right? Because below that, there is no much of 64-bit support, and mainly HTML5 support is not there in IE8, right? Because 2013 is completely HTML5 enabled, right? And that's why you have to at least use more than IE8, which is 9 or 10. And Mozilla version or Chrome, anyways, you can use the latest versions, because Chrome is the first browser which is actually HTML5 enabled. So almost some 47 to 52% of people are using Chrome, and because it is a complete HTML5 supported. And second place is Mozilla, actually Mozilla Firefox. And we can't say third place, but it is Internet Explorer is, some features are not working still in HTML5 components. Actually IE10 is been released recently, and it was a complete beta version, and it's horrible actually. The experience which I have got is again, is something which is not expected. I think even in my PC I'm using IE10, it seems, right? You can see IE10. It is my I'm using my Internet Explorer 10, not 9, and this is a beta version anyways, right? But only thing is these everything is working fine, but some HTML5 components, because when I'm developing something, so my IE is not supporting me completely, but IE9 is comparatively very very good, right? So that is what is all
So the
about.
fastest would be like Chrome is the best, right? One of the best, isn't it? You would
I'm
say.
sorry, I'm sorry.
You would say Chrome is one of the best, right? Most compatible with SharePoint and everything, right?
No, I'm not talking about SharePoint, I'm talking about HTML5. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
basically yes, it is. Chrome is something which is compatible for the latest HTML and the old HTML. It is so most of the features of HTML is being supported by Chrome in current market, actually. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is
So
the
what is HTML? Sorry.
HTML is something like, see, whatever you can see in this page, right? Actually, each and
Right.
every part is called as HTML. Now, in a website,
Okay.
if you right click on your page and if you say view source, right, we have something called view source, right? If you
Right.
click on this, you can see, let me show you that. You can see everything will be a HTML, right? So this is
Okay.
nothing but your HTML, right? Each and every part. So you can see here, let me just select this designer site, copy, and let me search on here, previous or next, match case, okay, right? It got something, you can see here, right? Designer site, it's a base URL. Let me just go next, next. Where is the name here? The label class. Can you see here the label? So this is
Right.
where we are actually giving the name here. So the name is over here actually, right? And you can see layout images. So beside this label we have something called image, right, which we have uploaded. This image, right? Everything
Yeah.
whatever you can see is nothing but a HTML tag, right? Now what is
Okay.
compatibility is, let us say in HTML, let us say here you can see in a class there is something being written, right? Let us say the class, this is nothing but your CSS basically, right? Now some browsers will understand this and some browsers will not understand this. This understanding is nothing but a compatibility, right? Whenever we say I10 is not compatible with complete HTML5, which means whatever is there in HTML5, right, some of the components are not being understandable your browser, but Chrome is something which is compatible with your, not completely, but most of the features are compatible, which means most of the attributes or tags are already being handled in your Chrome, which is the latest one, right? So that is what is the main difference, what we call it as a compatibility, right?
Okay.
Yeah, but anyways, your SharePoint is actually compatible with I think 4 browsers, which is Internet Explorer, right, and your Chrome, Mozilla, and I think it's Safari, right? Because even you can also install your SharePoint in MacBook actually, right? It need to actually set up some .NET framework, but we can run this in Mac, fine.
Okay.
So that will be all for designer, right? So tomorrow we'll see my site, which is networking, internal networking, or you can say social, internal social can be created using your SharePoint, which is nothing but my site. And we'll see the hierarchy, whatever we have created hierarchy, right? We'll see how this hierarchy works in my sites, right? My site is something which is a separate option in our SharePoint, right? We'll see it tomorrow, fine.
Okay.
Let's wind up here and
No
we'll
problem.
meet up tomorrow, fine.
Can you help me with my designer?
Yeah, sure. Let me just wind up here, right? I'll log into you
Okay.
just, okay. Okay, people, I'll see you. And Lakshmi, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you that blinking part, right? I'll